All right. Gotcha.
Okay, guys. So I'm here with Andy and John here to help. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having us, Richard.
Good, good. So Andy, now you and I spent some time together doing a little work together. And John, I followed your channel for quite some time. And let's just get into it. You guys have been doing quite a bit of work on some of the trafficking stuff going on. So get right into it. Tell us what you've been doing, what it looks like on the ground where you are, and just inform people what is actually going on out there.
Yeah, John, you want to take the lead on this, and then I'll fill in the blanks.
Sure. A couple of years ago, when everybody was locked down due to COVID, criminals actually had to change the way they do business. So I'd already had connections within certain communities from the past undercover work, and I was able to get a job. They only hire certain people for those jobs, people they know, people they've already checked out. I was able to get a job, and the idea then was to track the drug shipments, these huge shipments coming into Maryland and going into Baltimore. This was in an effort to save lives in Baltimore. People are not killing themselves over parking spots. It's over drugs, drug proceeds. So if I could stop the shipments, I can do it. I would, and I did. But having worked at this place, it's a large place. This is a adult store just outside Edgewood, Maryland. And on the end is a separate business. They were storing drugs in there. You would at any one time have 100, 200 plus pounds of drugs in there. That was changing hands and going into Baltimore. Having worked there, they started exploiting children. There's a child trafficking ring being run through there as well. It is nationwide. It started off with a digital system. This is a big place that has private booths where you can watch dirty movies. It's got big theaters and private theaters. You go into the booths, you buy a code, and you go in the back and watch dirty movies. But if you purchase codes online for much more money, you can go in the back and it's a live show, and you can actually watch children being abused or worse.
And if I can jump in right there, like not everybody can just get these codes. You have to be vetted by this service, this company, basically a front company. There's many front companies that go along with it, but you have to produce the content yourself, like original content of child porn, rape, or whatever, to get them to trust you and prove you're not with law enforcement. Go ahead, John.
Anybody can purchase the codes up front if you have the cash, and you get the basic service as they describe it. Once they get to know you and you're producing actual porn where they know you're a part of it for real, you can unlock other services. That's what Mr. Kuhl is talking about. And you can go right up to the top where you get a code to get a live show activated on your smartphone, and you can direct what's going on. It's being recorded, and you put it on. Now they're raping children is what they're doing, and it's recorded. You tell them what you want. They're taking custom orders. There are animals involved in some of them. And if it's recorded, you pay it a lot to do this, but then you put it online and you're getting a percentage of what it pays. So they're making a lot of money doing this. And there's a lot of money flowing through there that's not on the books.
Now, you mentioned the animals, and I know this one upsets you. It upsets me too, John, but we mentioned this on Troy Smith's show as well, where it's basically their number one hit, their most famous video right now, or at least recently. Yeah, it does involve an animal, a dog, and as John has explained it, I mean, you want to go for it again, or you want me to?
It was their number one most requested. It got the most hits. Just like you see somebody's video getting hits, this has got the most hits on their service. This was a young girl. She'd already been raped by 2 grown men. She was on the bed. They tried to introduce a dog to have sex with her. The dog wouldn't do it. They were forcing it, whatever. They had her do stuff to the dog. And it wouldn't happen. So they had another dog. And this dog was very wound up, probably on drugs or something. They got the dog up on the bed. He wouldn't do it, but he bit her on the back of her thigh and dug in. She's screaming, blood everywhere. And he pulls her off the bed because she was small. She was maybe only 9 years old, 9 or 10. And then they cut shortly after that. But because of the actual violence and what was going on, that's their number one seller, their number one rental, as it were.
Now, John, you've seen this with your own eyes?
Just the end part with the dogs. Because some of the customers there are regulars, and told you what's going on, they show you. And if somebody's back there watching it, they would let me know.
Because you were working security or something, right?
I took a job working the store. I managed the store during a shift. I was a shift manager. I managed it and documented everything going on each shift. I got people's faces on camera. I got tag numbers. If you're back there watching it, I got tag numbers, everything. So.
And you first got into this because somebody left it on in the booth, right? They were spent, as the term would go, and they left it on, and you heard screaming, right?
Yeah, there were 4 booths in the center that were close to the ventilation system, and you could hear what's going on. And there were children screaming, not a happy scream. And I was like, what is that? You know, so it's not something you normally heard there. It definitely stuck out. So I went in the back. It's like, you know, I was fumbling my phone. My phone was out charging. I'm trying to go get my phone so I can get back here and film it. And it went off because they'd left towards the end. But they were definitely children. They were maybe 10 or 12. There was no mistaking it. So I started watching closer and talked to some of the regulars. Some people have been going there for 20 plus years. They're there 6-7 days a week. It's sad. But they would fill you in on what's happening in the back because they're back there all the time.
And we've done public outcry videos because law enforcement really hasn't done anything with this. And we've shown some of these receipts, showing like the actual receipts with the codes on them. We've showed the way the system looks and how it normally sounds versus when law enforcement was quote unquote involved, but it seemed like they were trying to hack into it. And I mean, Richard, you probably know about overclocking of, hard drive. You know, the fans start running and this thing sounds like a snowball machine. We have, videos of that as well. There's been several people that have come in, one guy in particular. If John, you want to share the information about him, but he had a handful of receipts. I mean, he was either, viewing multiple a la carte videos, or he was providing them for other people as well. And he was bringing friends along as the more and more he got involved. And yeah, John, you want to talk about him?
The overclocking was when right when the feds got involved. When they were trying to do something, they were trying to get into the system. Now, each booth, there's 18 booths in the back. Each one has a hard drive. And they actually burned out the hard drives on a couple of them trying to get in. They had to be replaced. And I knew what was happening because I didn't see anything. But they actually attacked it from the other way. Instead of trying to get through that system, they attacked it on the other end, going out the system in between here and the servers. So they were able to document that, payments and stuff. But a lot of this is already paid online with prepaid cards and stuff. As far as this idiot coming in, the person you're talking, I'm not going to call him a gentleman, he's a piece of garbage. He comes in almost daily. He's making a lot of money doing it. He started coming in just to watch and realized he can make money. This guy drives about 5.5+ hours from away. I mean, he's way out in Western Maryland. He is a community college professor. He deals with students. He comes way out here, so no one will know him, and because the system's out here. Now, there are systems closer to him, but he doesn't want to be recognized. And he records. And what he's doing is he comes in with multiple tickets, and these are codes that he purchased online. He gets multiple tickets at the desk, $5 tickets, and then once you're signed in, he goes to these codes, puts in the private codes that he purchased. And
sorry, John. And the systems are designed to be able to enter in these codes that he gets from somewhere on the internet that then generates the media that you're talking about, the children, these dogs, all this stuff. Is that how it works?
Well, there's over 1 million movies in this system in the library. But once you sign in, now they would come to the desk, you buy a regular $5 ticket. It's a randomly generated code. They go in the back, punch that in, and the system's wide open. It's like a wide open internet access computer. So then they get their code online that they purchased, punch that in, and it takes them to, it's like a specific channel that's on there. And because it's become so safe and profitable, you have people locally, people in Baltimore, people throughout Maryland, other states are abusing children. Especially during COVID, they're home, not doing anything, they're abusing children and putting it online. And they think because they hide their face, or you only see everybody from the chest down or stomach down, and you don't see the child's face, you don't see their face. I mean, they're abusing their own children or someone else's child, and they put it online, but it's very profitable. You can put that online and make a few $1,000s. So this guy, he comes in with multiple. What he does is he gets, he's worried about being tracked even out here. He's extremely paranoid. So he'll buy $50 in tickets, but he'll get 10 $5 tickets. And after he uses one, he'll move to another booth. That's what he's doing. And I've had people come out and complain about, he'll be in the back for 8-9 hours at a time, come out completely drenched in sweat. And he's downloading these live shows to his phone, because he can then upload them, trade for much better content or other original content, but he can prove so he has the ultimate access. But he makes a lot of money off of it. He's brought other people in with him from far away. One guy showed up, and he was a soccer teacher at a local high school here in high school soccer teacher in Harford County. I don't say which school, but he's right here. He's a teacher here. So it's not like they're hours away. These are people here doing it as well. He's connected into this little network of school people who are doing this for money. And of course, it makes you wonder, what's he doing at work? Because he's this sick when he's not at work.
And it's so advanced. They actually have a QR code option where if you scan the QR code from the screen as you're viewing it, you can take it with you on your phone, and it's already through the encrypted network, so it can't be traced. So guys will come in with either cash or like Green Dot credit cards or things like that, prepaid, and they'll pay for this service or these codes, and they'll scan it on their phone, record it on their phone, or have a burner phone and sell the phone with the video. So not only is the establishment that's facilitating all of this making the money, so are the people, the sick assholes that are doing this. They're making all the money too, because they're just reproducing it and spreading it around. And what John mentioned before about the children that are involved in this and whether their face is shown or not, these are local children that it's happening to. This isn't the international crazy, Russian video or something that spreads around the internet. That the federal agencies cannot track this because of the encryption and the way it is laid out. So these are local kids. Their families are prostituting them, selling them into sexual slavery and abuse and rape. So this is right in everybody's backyard. And John and I have taken this to law enforcement, local law enforcement. They conducted an investigation, and they were either too inept to break through the cyber side of anything, so they turned it over to federal authorities. So we went to another jurisdiction where we knew these machines were, because basically the system is being implemented where they had the old peep shows. You drop a coin in, as John has mentioned before, and you get to watch whatever you want. But now it's gone digital. That is where everything has gotten so much worse, because it's spreading like a virus. And when we took it to the other jurisdiction for local law enforcement, they were absolutely interested. John and I gave a testimony. It was about half hour, 45 minutes, and it was video recorded. But from both of these local law enforcement agencies, they stopped talking to us after they had turned the investigations over. And the federal agencies that may or may not be involved, they are not talking to us whatsoever. So we had all this information. That's ultimately why we did the public outcry videos, and appreciate you so much for having your listeners and your viewers watch this, because this is what it's really going to take, is to put that pressure on law enforcement. If everybody knows this is happening, then we can certainly do something about it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well,
So you guys have, John obviously is a firsthand witness to it. He worked there. He can speak directly to it. Andy, I know you and I have ridden around together to a few places. And then I know that, this is just an example that we are seeing at these local, I don't know, what do you call them? Masturbation parlors. I don't know what to call it. And then I was up in New Jersey, and I saw it in plain sight on these backdoor places, people going in and out. Clearly it took everything in me not to just get out of my car and confront these people. And then obviously through John and his research and you've uncovered that it's actually that these codes that they plug into these systems that then allow them to view things like bestiality and child pornography. And I think a lot of us are aware that this is happening. I guess I'd ask the two of you, what can we do about it? If you've gone to your local police agencies and they just kind of, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're doing something in the background. We don't know, but by not communicating with you seems to not be maybe the results aren't coming anyway. So what are you advising here? I mean,
well, I guess that goes to the extent of how deep this goes and the networking of everything. And John can really speak to this because he has been, like you said, hands-on involved. Like I've gone into the booths myself and documented it, but I haven't had any of the codes because I can't be vetted through this system. And I wouldn't want to be either.
Well, and you don't want them. You don't want the codes because you're doing your own research, but potentially you're committing a crime too. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel comfortable purchasing a code that I knew could potentially show me a naked child, and God right. with an animal. I mean, and then potentially we're committing a crime. So what do we do?
Yeah, law enforcement has to be the ones to do anything about this. But with John's background in private investigations, like this is the information that he has collected in the past and brought to law enforcement, and they have done stuff with it in the past, but may have not for other things. But yeah, but
I mean, I've actually brought much less to the DOJ in Baltimore before, and they were able to, if not build a case, at least task you to get other things to fill in the blanks. And this is start to finish. It's documented. It's getting much worse. Now there are actual children involved in these locations. And look, I'm not a prude. I'm not trying to shut down every adult store. I work there. Most of the people that came in went in the back, whatever, but it was a store on one side. And most of it, they had couples come in, younger people, older people, singles. And they would come in, they would look around, leave, they'd buy something, leave. They're just going home. It's fine. Have fun. But this is the gross side of it, where they're abusing it. Now it's gotten so advanced that they're actually bringing children in, and they're having
they're bringing children inside these places.
Yeah.
Some of the children almost all the children are bringing are local, but some of them were seen online. So like I said, some of the stuff is being made locally, because if you abuse a child locally, there's a chance that you can make 10 grand letting other people abuse a child locally. So you don't want to see a child in Denver because they're not going to show up that weekend. So local has become the hot topic. I was due to work a weekend shift, Saturday, 3 p.m. to midnight. I had a bunch of errands to run. They fell through. I went in early, and there was a girl in the back. She was 11 years old. And I went ballistic, and I went off on everybody. And then I really went off because I found out that her father and her grandfather had brought her in there to prostitute her out, because I was going to tear them apart. And then she told me who they were, and that would have just been harder on her. I got her in the back. She was in the booth section. She's 11. She told me she was nude from the knees up, covered in semen. Got her covered, got her out back, got her away from those people. And we have pictures of her, and she's got semen all down the front of her. She's an 11-year-old girl. She's terrified, crying hysterically. She's talking to me, but she's terrified, not of me, not of what she was doing, but that her father and grandfather are going to do something to her because she hadn't earned enough money yet. And obviously they've done this before, because she wasn't worried about the 15 or 20 guys she had taken care of already. They came in, they offered the guy who was working there in the morning $100, let her go back, or they could have first time. There's a picture of the girl. If you look at her, she's covered in semen. Or they let him have first crack. Well, he went back there twice with her instead of having the money, and he's still working there. Now I went nuts. I was going to tear people up. Her father ran out the door, got in the car, and left. You can see it on the front of her. And I was seriously considering burning the place down that night. I called my wife, and she's like, "What's wrong?" First thing, she'd not heard me like that in years. Talked me down, and I called the cops. Well, didn't do anything, and then I was actually exposed prior to that, and exposed because of calling the cops. And management found out about it, and that's why they poisoned me. It sounds extraordinary. It sounds like something out of James Bond, but The owner had done this to his wife, turned her into a vegetable. She's bedridden, can't speak or breathe on her own. They have a hospital room in their home. So it happened to her. She totally crashed. Either I didn't get as much, or the Lord is with me, or I'm bigger, whatever it is, but I didn't crash as hard, even though I crashed for 2 weeks. So I'm able to recover. Most likely, she'd been eating it. He'd been feeding it to her in some fashion, because that's when it really gets into you. And I just touched it and went through the skin of my finger. It was an organophosphate. It's popular in the country he's from. And everybody wants this to be quiet. Now that girl there, she's 11. She lives close by. She has come in there for parties. Now what they do is they have parties at 2, 3 in the morning. The place closes at midnight on weekends, 10 on weekdays. And they have people come in at 2 or 3 in the morning. They'll sit out back and everybody has to pay cash. And they take them into the big theaters with one of these children, boy or girl. And they have like 3 or 4 hours back there where there's no cameras and the police are not going to come in. And they pay very well for it. And a lot of these children have already been abused online. That's where they found out about it. Because at the end of these videos, they'll tell you how to contact them for in-person modeling sessions, whatever they call it. And that's what it is. And then they fired me, poisoned me. I was in the hospital, and then they fired me for not showing up for a shift. And then dummy, actually, the district manager and a partial owner actually sent me a text complaining that I went to the cops and that they had warned me in the past not to go to the cops. So I have all that. But there's actual children involved, and it's local. So it's not just something overseas anymore. It's here, it's now, and then something needs to be done. And everybody wants to keep it quiet because it's an election season. Don't want to deal with it. Just want it quiet, go away. So, and I'm not going to do that.
And the local law enforcement ran on the platform of closing down these adult stores back in 2018. So we went to him to provide this information, thinking he would actually do something about it and help. And the problem is still lying within, is that these heinous acts keep happening to these children and no one is doing anything about it. And like you said, Richard, what can we do about it? I guess exposure is the best thing to put the pressure on law enforcement. I'd love to do rallies outside of all these establishments and let them know that we're watching. Let them know that we're going to have somebody post up there and make sure they're not bringing kids in, but they are. I mean, we have the reports that they are having these overnight parties, as John mentioned. And I showed the picture before. Did you see it, of the 11-year-old girl? Now, we have a picture of her face, and she is absolutely hysterical. She is just bawling her eyes out. And I wasn't really listening at the time if you said it or not, John, but she thinks she did something wrong because now her father and grandfather got found out for doing this stuff with her, and she doesn't want any problems because that's all going to fall back on her. Just the same as John said, I wanted to tear them apart, but that'll fall back on her, and like she'll be ruined for it. But I mean, they all scattered like roaches as soon as you showed up there. And even one of the employees was participating. Did you say that before, John?
Yeah, he took turns with her instead of taking $100 to let her go back. By their license, you're not allowed to have anyone in the parking lot, even under 18 years old. It's an adult place. So even people pull up, leave kids in the car, we can't let them in the store like that. And I've made him leave before, but he let her go in the back so he could take turns with her. And the reason I called them is they were supposed to leave before I got there. I went in early, and this was in the booth section. They were supposed to be leaving. He was trying to get them out the door, and they'd all stopped at the ATM because they were all trying to take out $200 a piece to take her into the big theater and have sex with her. And they're showing some of the receipts online now. And I had people, I worked that shift after things calmed down, and I had people coming back for 2 or 3 hours asking if she was back there, offered me $50, $100 to go back there. Because you pay to go in the back, it's $15. And they were offering me $100, $200 to let them go back there and have fun with her, because they had gone home to get the money. They'd gone to their bank to get it, and they were coming back. And then, like I said, I had some of the regulars that have been there for decades, literally, coming out and telling me what was going on, before I got there, after, things like that.
And we need to also reach out to, these child advocacy groups And I don't know who's who. I don't know which ones are the good ones or which ones are facilitating these things to happen and, you know, just picking kids out of orphanages or whatever. But it has to be this awareness, this national like call to action for everybody. And I think that's what we can do to defeat this, or at least have it publicly acknowledged. I mean, because law enforcement isn't acting, and we have to make them act.
It's spreading faster than cancer. When we first started documenting everything going to law enforcement, it was in about 75% of the country. And now the actual business, US Arcades, in case I didn't mention it, US Arcades, they're on Twitter, if you want to find them. They're actually bragging that they're in every state now. And it's overseas. The United Kingdom is now experiencing the same system. And as they put it in their paper, a dramatic rise in online original content of child pornography and violent stuff. You have different groups and gangs over there who see this as very profitable, and they've really gotten into it. But the same type of system is spreading in the UK and Europe now. And it's gotten so commonplace and so comfortable and profitable, which should never be associated with child abuse, that it's not just adults anymore. You have teenagers who are getting someone's younger sibling or their younger sibling, younger brother, younger sister, or their girlfriend or their boyfriend has, or usually girlfriend has a younger sister, something like that, and they're abusing them because you put it online and make a steady stream of money. It's profitable. And it should never be like that. And this is how fast it's growing, and nobody wants to deal with it. So
yeah, I mean, in the nation, it is spread across 26 plus states from the last time it was documented. It could be even further. It's all up and down the East Coast. All 50 now?
It's all 50 now. US Arcades, the company, it's one of the front companies. There's like 11 front companies, and they are bragging about it, that they're in every state now, that they managed 91, I think, locations themselves now because they want all that money. But their system is in hundreds of places in all 50 states. The owner of this place, there's 3 of them on Route 40 in Edgewood, Aberdeen, up to Havre de Grace. There's 3 in Harford County now. He owns this one in outside Edgewood and one in Havre de Grace. The one right down the road, Bush River, is atrocious. It's horrible. It does not have the digital system, but they have a lot more problems with children. There were actually arrests made there a couple months ago. They had underage children in there. One was trans, ended up in the hospital. The bleeding would not stop. So it's happening there, and they don't have the system. So there's just all children going in there. And it's a disgusting place. I mean, this one I was at was bad enough. That one is like the stuff you see in Nightmare. It's disgusting.
And so how can everybody like look this up? We've gone through this before with Google searches, how to find these adult stores that potentially have these systems in them. Most they say they have a theater and they have reviews and comments. If you just Google it, and they say you know, something about the selection. I mean, they're just right out there.
Yeah, I mean, they're very upfront. Like I said, the people who are using the system, abusing children, are actually putting pictures online of the kids, their favorites, the ones they've abused, because that's how comfortable they are. Now, this company, the front company for this area, US Arcades, if I didn't mention that, is on Twitter. You can find them. They're on the web. You can't get anywhere on their website because it's heavily encrypted, but you can find them. Now, if you go to like Twitter, their Twitter page, US Arcades, they brag about where their stuff is. They tell you they actually have an interactive map where you put in your location and it'll tell you if their system is there. If their system's not there, there's 2 or 3 like it that are run by another front company, and they'll tell you. So it's not as hard as it was just a few months ago. You can go to US Arcades on Twitter and use their interactive map to find it, and it'll show you where this is at. And it's overall, it's like 2,100 places across the country right now where the system's available. Many little teeny, there's US Arcades at the bottom. That's part of their map, yeah. So it's right there. They're bragging about it. And after I was poisoned, and the management started talking about, we don't know how he's alive. And they told people, it was like, people asked where I was at, and they were like, oh, we can't believe he's still alive. US Arcades actually came out and bragged about their new content. Well, just got out of the hospital. because of course I knew about it. And by money, you're talking thousands of dollars a day coming through, not just the unreported income off of the booths or the theaters, anything like that. You know, the IRS ever got a hold of them, they'd have a field day. This is thousands of dollars a day that people are paying to watch and generate this stuff. Yes, it's expensive if you're paying $2,000 or $3,000 to direct this child movie, but then you're making $1,000 a week for a year, you know, $2,000 a day for months. And the money coming through there, you're talking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a day possible. If you just say a low of $10,000 a week multiplied by how many stores this guy has, it really adds up. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and they're willing to do anything to protect it.
Yeah, and this is all documented. Like as we said before, we've gone to law enforcement with this. We provided some of these receipts, so they would obviously know it's credible. The local law enforcement in Harford County, they did do an investigation, and they found it was credible. Otherwise, they wouldn't have turned it over to the feds. So this is real stuff. And there is way more documentation.
They vetted everything, vetted us, verified everything.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have taken it if they hadn't. And it got to a level where they couldn't handle it any longer, took it and turned it over to the feds. But now it's time to quiet it down. It makes you wonder where all that money's ending up, you know, because nobody wants to deal with it publicly.
Yeah, and then the networking that goes along with this, John, like this could implicate so many people in so many higher places. As we mentioned in our original public outcry video, that the protection for these systems up and down the East Coast and across the nation is through 1%er groups. So they are like you know, different biker groups. They're providing the protection, the mode of transportation for this, and they have actually been one of them.
Things like that,
yeah, been infiltrated.
One of them in particular. Most of them actually won't deal with children. There's one that is now. It's all the younger guys because they see it as profitable. They don't care. So, but yeah, they provide security, intimidation, things like that. So, and I don't care where the money goes. If you're taking bribes, look the other way. Like the one, the manager getting $500 per store, manages 4 stores. That's $2,000 a week in cash to look the other way. And that's not counting what they're making off the child parties, so more. The custom motorcycle must be worth it. And the other guy who is a manager, district manager, and a partial owner, who cares? It's not his kid. You know, he doesn't like kids anyway. So, okay, well, that's fine. And as for the politicians and different people taking the bribes, I don't give a shit where it ends up. I hope they all burn. So too bad.
Yeah, and it's all documented. Like I said, names, dates, places, tags, like all of this. This is all information that we were willing to come forth with for law enforcement to actually do something, and they're not. So this is basically another public outcry video trying to get to more and more people. Like I said about advocacy groups, I just reached out to Tim Tebow today to try and get in touch with him, because he's doing great stuff with the rescue team that he has. So, I mean, if we all just like unify under this message of our children, and this is happening in our backyard, then there has to be something good and fruitful that comes from this, that these guys have to be brought to justice. You know, I'm all for bringing the electric chair back and all that, because I mean, these are just heinous crimes. And especially for the parents that are just doing this to their children. It's like, we want people to get mad. We want people to be upset by hearing this information, because that's when you get stuff done, when you're angry. You know, you got angry mama bear, angry papa bear, and like, think about it as this is your kids or your cousin's kids or something like that. You know, this is very possible that
it's happening.
It could be happening.
I've seen some of the videos. I've seen even more still photos from videos where people have posted them bragging about it. And you would think that, you know, it could be a lower income problem. It's not. It's any color, anywhere. Some of these backgrounds are very poor surroundings. Some of them are obviously in hotels because they don't have an apartment or anything, but there's other ones that are very large homes There's some of them just behind it. You look at, there's like 4 rooms behind them. These are big places. Others are professional settings. There was one, it was a child being abused by like 3 or 4 men and standing around her, and it was in a restaurant. It was closed, but it was a restaurant. You could tell. And some of them are professional settings, most likely a school of some kind. So it's happening everywhere, and it's spreading too fast. And people were doing this during COVID because it was safe and they could make money. Now the economy is terrible. Inflation's way up. People are broke even worse now. And it's scary to think it's happening even more. It's like nobody's looking at their kids anymore. Now they're looking at it as a paycheck. Or worse, what I'm worried about are gangs or groups of people looking at children they see on the street as money. You know, you don't have to kidnap them and ransom them anymore. Now you can just do whatever you want for a couple hours, film it, and bury them somewhere and put it online and make all that money. They're seeing children as profit now. And that's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's super upsetting. We just have to get the message out and keep it rolling. I mean, I'm kind of at a loss of what else to do about it. I mean, I got to do counter surveillance every time I leave my house, make a unsuspected U-turn or something like that, make sure I'm not being followed. Because we know the bad guy saw the video. Obviously, John got poisoned and, almost died from it. And, there's other indications that we've had that there's definitely going to be some backlash because we're messing with their money, their business of, raping children. And we have to have this selflessness, and most people don't. And everybody has this level of self-preservation. And it's like, well, I don't want to, upset the apple cart or, I don't want to lose my job because of this. I don't want to, have to move because of this. But I mean, if everybody just got up off their ass and did one thing, especially in defense of the children, then we could just put this shit to bed really quick. But it's not happening. But I mean, everybody's got to get really mad. They got to get upset. They got to cry over this, man. Like in the beginning of all of this BS happening for the last 3 years, like that's what hit home to me the most. And working with John on this, like I was so upset, especially hearing about the 11-year-old girl. He told me about it almost right afterwards. I'm sure it was after your wife calmed me down, but he was telling me, and I'm just like walking back and forth through my house with my gun in my hand. I'm just like ready for vigilante justice. I'm like, I'm ready to blast some people. Like, how can they get away with this? And we already knew at that point that law enforcement wasn't doing enough about it. So it's got to be the people. It's got to be the people to either stand up, do something about it ourselves. I don't care if we run in with pitchforks or whatever, but, I'm not inciting violence or anything. But that if law enforcement doesn't do anything about it, who's going to save the children? And I, by all means, do not want anything like this to happen to any child. And, I'm a father myself. So this is really scary. Like, we have to take all these measures to be cautious, to be safe. But what we're doing is the absolute right thing in exposing this. And people need to get on board because we got to do something, and we got to do it quick, because who knows where this 11-year-old girl is now. She might be dead. She might be, still
certainly
trafficked.
Pray for her. She's certainly being trafficked if she's alive. The only thing you can say positive is they probably wouldn't kill their meal ticket. But imagine the hell her life is. There's a couple of things that should, and beyond all this, that should really irritate people. I just want to mention a few of them. Is I'm sure everybody remembers when we were all locked down for COVID, locked in the house, and there was only essential businesses. Your job was not essential. You don't need it. Well, grocery stores, essential. Liquor stores were allowed to stay open. But did you know the adult stores were allowed to stay open in Maryland? They were deemed essential. Your job's not, but adult stores are allowed to stay open. They're essential.
You shut down gun shops.
Yeah, that tells you where some of the money must be going, that they can be deemed essential.
Yeah, and you've mentioned this too before, John, that it kind of coincides with the Safe Streets program that is, headed up by Governor Hogan.
Well, Safe Streets is being abused. The money's being siphoned in myriad different ways. But yeah, it's going through the program, and the money's being taken off. It's not going to where it's supposed to go. It's not going to help anyone. And it's been so ripped off and so misused and mismanaged on purpose to get rich that, here's the result. Nothing's being done over here.
Yeah, and this was recently documented by Mackenzie Frost for Fox 45 Baltimore. So she started looking into where's the money going with Safe Streets program. So she starts knocking on the addresses of all these places where the money's supposed to be going, and nobody's there. It's like nobody lives there.
Two or three were vacant, and one was just a cinder block house with no doors or windows.
Yeah,
but they're handling millions of dollars. So it's just going to the other people.
Yeah,
getting rich off of it.
All of these programs are obviously bullshit. Like we're spending our taxpayer dollars and we're expecting a politician or a representative to spend it right. But I mean, like, how many people are on Governor Hogan's heroin task force?
Who knows? How many task force does he have?
Two. There's two investigators on his heroin task force. But he'll sit there on camera all day and say, oh, the Maryland heroin task force is on top of it. Bullshit. It's the same thing with this Safe Streets program. Is that, oh, yeah, we're safe streets, we're ending trafficking, but no, we're either not doing anything about it or the money is facilitating this to continue happening.
They're getting rich off it. There's no incentive to actually stop the abuse, stop crime, because then it cuts into your pocketbook, and they don't want that. I mean, I am acutely aware that every dollar that's coming from the federal government was earned by other people with a job. Government doesn't have any money. These are tax dollars. So it's coming in and just going right into them. And the mayor chose 10 different charities to dispense the Safe Streets money. 3 of them are obviously fake. The so-called leaders of the others are all driving custom SUVs and no improvements. The money's disappeared. But somebody's a new millionaire, so that's okay, right?
And we really thought this would be a bipartisan issue. It would be a human issue or whatever. When we contacted other elected representatives, like we went to Brandon Scott's people, did not get any response whatsoever. Then it was during the controversy, the beginning of the controversy with Marilyn Mosby. But, go figure, we do get a response from a deputy state's attorney, and he was interested and he listened and then never responded after that. There's other politicians that we've reached out to talk about this stuff with and get no response whatsoever. Nobody wants to touch it. Why? Are they implicated?
Well, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of money. I would like to say that when we went to, sorry, go ahead. All right.
Just to let you guys know, I have a few minutes here and I got to jump off. But Andy, you and I have spoken about this. John, you and I haven't. And I'm hearing this and I really am dumbfounded. I've seen these. I saw firsthand in New Jersey not long ago where they have, like you're saying, John, they have the front part of the store where, you can buy some lingerie or something or whatever the adults buy. And then on the back side, there's the back door. And that's where I saw the people coming in and out in the back parking lot behind these booths. And then to see that picture that John, Andy, that you showed, it's just got me a little shaken up here. So I apologize.
No,
it's understandable. I was shaken up that day. The one you were at most likely is owned by the same owner because he has a bunch of them up in Chicago and Illinois and Ohio.
I just started thinking, and John, sorry, I just started thinking that if this is what, and let's just say I saw the type of people coming in and out of this place, I would say they're not exactly the cream of the crop people coming in and out of these places. Maybe some are, but the ones that I saw were just kind of like, I would say, like dirty old men was what they looked like to me.
Yeah.
And then you tack on this whole clearly money laundering issues you're talking about, Andy, between Safe Streets. And I saw that signage they had in Baltimore, and they But DC did it too. They have these like coned off areas, calling it safe streets, and they partner up with all these 501(c) probably is where they just launder the money. And then I start thinking about the larger scale, just our own country right now, sending 40 billion over to the Ukraine. And you just wonder, if it's happening at the street level in plain sight, and guys like John can work at a store and catch it firsthand, and then you can report it to the police, and they refer it to the feds. And, I'm not hearing anything from either one of you about actually someone getting arrested.
No.
When it sounds to me you have enough evidence at a local level in Maryland. It just makes you wonder what the hell is going on. And then what the hell is going on behind these closed doors? I wonder what's going on in governors' mansions that we don't have access to, and different politicians that are all just in on it, it seems. Yeah.
And what John was mentioning before with the 11-year-old girl, when he eyewitnessed that and called the police did not respond. It was the investigators that we were working with originally. There was no response, but eventually an investigator was assigned, and they came in and greenlit John and completely blew the investigation on purpose. Why would you walk into the establishment?
Then I got poisoned.
Yeah. And why would you walk into the establishment where the informant is, and then totally greenlight them, call them out in the middle of the store, talk about the exact case that's going on in front of the manager? So, that was the green.
I'm hearing what you're saying, Andy. And I have my head, I think, wrapped around it.
Yeah.
But it's just unbelievable at the same time. At the end of the day, what we have is children being horrifically abused.
Yeah.
And we report that to our authorities, and they're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, that's something, and it really is a testament to everything that's happened.
It's just. I'm sorry, man. Listen, I have to jump off here, Andy and John. I just got somewhere else I have to be in a few minutes.
I appreciate your time.
So I'll get this put together and I'll put it on my Telegram channel. And I'm working on getting a website up where I can host some of these videos. And I know, Andy, our friend Troy, a lot of us have been trying to get this out there. Let's keep doing it because this is what we can do. And then Andy, when I get back to Maryland, and John as well, let's have a face-to-face get together. And I think, I think at the very least, if we can stand in front of these places with signs, and if that's what we can do, because we can't rely on our police and we can't rely on our government, maybe that's what we can do in a nonviolent way. I'm happy. I'm happy to. Sorry, that's my other call. I'm happy to make my own sign that says an 11-year-old child.
I would like to fly a drone around that when it's busy. That would scare them.
Yeah,
I'm fine. I'll go stand. So anyway, I have to jump off, guys. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm
understand. Stay safe,
and I'm rattled right now.
Keep going. Somebody will listen.
Let's follow up, okay, guys?
All right. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you, John. Man, I appreciate your time today, and we'll do more on this.
Thank you.
This is hard. This is hard for all of us.
Yeah.
Because we're the people out here that actually care and want to do something. And it's just the fact that these places are still the fact that the building still exists that can, host this type of activity is just unbelievable to me. So We'll keep working on it, guys. I'll reach out to you again soon. And then we'll get together. We'll get in Maryland. At the very least, we need to have protests in front of these places.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, guys. Have a good rest of the evening. Thank you. Oh, by the way, today's May 31st. It is 5:00 Central Time. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
See you.